I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight for the Patriotic Dragon Radio Show. It's our September 15th show. Tonight, I'm honored to have a new panelist here, Jim Harris, and we got returning again this week, Bill Cagle, and our moderator, Stephen Hall. Thank you for being here.
Absolutely.
The Dragon Radio Show is a show to bring honest, open, thoughtful conversation back with ideas and opinions from and to our community about topics from across the spectrum, allowing groups and individuals to be a part of the process for a better, brighter future. We want to educate, inform, and inspire. And as required by legal, a disclaimer that the discussions, opinions, and the views expressed during the show are those of the guest and not necessarily of the Pickens County GOP or WYYZ. Our sponsor this week is Rocco's Pub, hosted by Matt Youngblood with YYZ. All right, let's jump right into it. Last week, I think we had an interesting show, and some good salient points were made that brought up more questions, I think, sometimes than answers, but that's part of the way it works. We talked about the education tax exemption and property assessments. And something that since the show I've had a good deal of information provided for me by the tax commissioner's office, Sharon Troglin and Darren Satterfield, as well as the county commissioner, Robert Jones, got me some information too. So on the property assessments, the biggest question there that I see is the assessments are not even. And an example is a home, or just take bare land. You know, we got people who own 3 acres who are being taxed at a rate of $8 per acre, and then we got people with 100 acres being taxed at $4 an acre. So my question to the group, and I want to kick it around stuff, is how do we make it more transparent or even so that it's easily understood by the citizens and therefore the taxpayers in the county? Stephen, we'll start on your side.
Okay, so I guess this is a tough gig because I was hoping somebody else would flew in. Because I was going to take a 30,000-foot view. And
that's okay. We got to start somewhere before we dive bomb.
We can crash and burn.
Right. Well, I think the entire process, I think we were talking a little bit about this off air, the entire process is a convoluted one. There's this big majority of society that doesn't realize where our property taxes, where they originate, what they're used for. I think, Bill, you talked a little bit off air not too long ago about how the fact that you could have XYZ number of dollars and a small portion of that go back to the county. And as someone who has worked with taxes for a long time, I'm a fair tax supporter, not a flat tax, but a fair tax, simple tax supporter, what have you, and the whole new discussion. I think it starts out with education, and I think a lot of the people that were sitting at the round table the other day, I don't think they have ever stepped foot inside a school board meeting. And I personally think that as you look at the demographics changing over time, you can also see that Generation Y is now the biggest stakeholder in the nation right now as far as population is concerned. And I think there is what I want to proclaim and grab on and hang on tight to all of the pieces of the pie that I possibly can for the baby boomer generation. Now, that may upset a lot of different people, and I know we'll talk a little more about this with our other topics as well. But I do think there's this mentality of what's in it for me. Everybody wants their little stake. No matter how conservative we might think we are, Everybody wants their little bitty steak. And so if I am John Smith, 70, 80 years old in the county, I heard it from my grandmother for a long time. Why do I have to pay these property taxes? If they are not coming from the property taxes, trust me, believe you me, they will come from somewhere else. I just had this discussion with someone else in another county's school board. He was a school board member, and he faced the same thing. And we were talking today about that same stuff. So, again, without giving specific answers or specific solutions to this, without saying, overall, throughout the whole thing, overall, all the taxes. I think if we're going to say that we've got to change our property taxes, we've got to be careful because we could wind up in a situation where we're paying more in another bucket somewhere else along the way. And I think, Will, you and I talked a little bit about it off air, the fact that if I, as a conservative, say, you know what, I want to not pay as much taxes overall, I don't think this is the way to go about doing it. Because we could easily wind up in a situation where we're paying it just somewhere else. We're calling it something else.
Right.
So, I don't know. What do you guys have to say?
I agree with the word boomer. That's me, and that has my interest. However, it's so convoluted that we've gotten to the point where we don't know where to take money from anymore. Who are you gonna serve, and who you're gonna dump under the bus? And right now the boomers and myself, being retired, think that you're looking at us. We got nowhere to go if you raise taxes, or you give us an assessment that is way out of sight. I don't, my wife says the same thing. She says, why do I have to go to the assessment board and beg to have it reduced? Because I don't see the taxes on this house being where they're at and what they should be. It's all over the place. And how do you straighten it out? We all agree on something. We all disagree on everything or whatever, Somehow it's got to be simplified. I mean, I've looked at the tax code in Georgia, in this county, and I'm not an attorney, and I don't know how you understand it. Some of the verbiage in there just says an assessment is an assessment made by somebody who is going to take an average of. What's an average? And when do you take that average?
I was going to say an average of what?
Yeah. How do you determine that? It's just I'm concerned because I'm on a fixed income, as they say, even though I go out and do contract work. A fixed income says that I am at the point in my life where no matter what you do, you're going to have a big impact on me. I've got medicine to worry about. I'm not worried about taxes anymore.
Well, Will, do you mind if I introduce a question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So, by the way, this is Periscope. All 5 people are watching you live. They could be anywhere around the world right now.
Oh, joy. I really enjoy that.
But so we're trying out I'm trying out a new social media platform.
I've heard of
for
that.
other people to clue into the radio station. But let me ask you a bigger question because I think I brought it up a little bit. Is this a situation, Will or Bill or I get all these or anybody? Yeah. Is this a situation where we could end up where 2 generations are almost fighting? Is that what we're leading down?
Well, I think, it could go that way, but I think the smart thing that we need to do is look at it from a standpoint of what do those 2 generations who have a tremendous amount of investment in this country, who worked that 45 years and are now due the reap of what they've sown as far as their taxes being put in, and the younger generation who needs to have an alternative how they're going to build their future. You can't take away from somebody who's at 65 and is now on a fixed income. That's wrong. It's something we cannot do. But when you look at the assessments, there has to be a cohesive way and a formula that's clearly stated and is not arbitrary. I think part of the thing we have in this county is we need to have either the assessment's done by a third party outside company that has no influence or influencers in the county, and pay them a percentage, have it done, have everything done in the county on one formula. If it's agriculture, if it's timber, there's categories, but across the board, those should still have a standardized formula. And it should be done quickly, not, not drag it out. And to get the digest correct, there's so much, and that's the information I got last week after the radio show, there's so much that's out there that is on the books that are really not property tax. It's personal. There's companies that have contractors and builders and even a Blue Star, the grocery store, who have folded up. They're insolvent. The corporation's gone. There's no way to levy the tax, and it still shows on the digest.
Clean it up.
Yeah, clean it up. Get it off the books. Leaving it on the books, and that confuses citizens who go on that website and look at it, because I got a 22-page report that I looked at today just to get a clear understanding of it. That report's not on the website. I'm going to recommend back to the person that sent it to me that it be on the website by the end of this week and put out in a public forum so that people who want to understand where the real delinquency taxes are, let them know. I mean, clean up that, but you have to have a multi-pronged approach, which is what any good solution is. But you can't take money away from seniors. You cannot do that. As far as the exemption, there's an exemption if somebody's on a medical fixed income or if they're disabled, they can file for an exemption. The $25,000 limit could be adjusted up to 35,000, but in that same token, you got to make it up somewhere because the taxes have to be derived from location. So I think those two generations you talked about, the greatest generation and then the young, well-educated, well-informed, could come up with a solution. We just need to do it together instead of pointing a finger and saying, not in my backyard. So, just my opinion. Yeah.
I think everybody who's got grandkids or children that are in their 40s now have a good deal of fear about what's going to happen in the next 30 years. With this system is on an approach to going off the cliff because we have got so much debt. Even the counties have debt that we can't handle. Some of the things that are going to come up, like the retirement for workers for the county and everything else, is all of a sudden going to show up.
Yeah.
And we're not planning for it.
Right.
Transparency in planning has got to be the word of the day. Transparency.
Yeah.
I mean, why is it camouflaged so much in verbiage that nobody can understand it? Why can't you look me in the eye and tell me it's going to cost me $40 out of my tax bill every week or month or whatever, and we're going to give it to you, we're going to give it to this person to handle this problem?
Right.
Probably for the same reason our tax code, national tax code, is 60
yeah,
some odd thousand pages.
Oh, they set the precedent. That's the
Exactly.
problem.
Yeah,
I
they set the
agree.
precedent.
I agree 100%.
But what Will said is absolutely true. There needs to be a simple formula or some type of a simple equation that John Doe and Jane Q. Public can figure out.
Absolutely.
Now part of it is, you got to look at the zoning too. Just because, for instance, my property may be zoned agriculture, yours may be zoned residential, the other one may be zoned.
Right.
So, you got to take that into consideration too. And, but yeah, there needs to be a simplified formula to determine what one's tax bill will be. And also what, I think the county could help themselves and the public could have some input by, all right, what services are absolutely necessary and do you want? Because the more services you want and expect, guess what, guys?
Price.
It comes with a price.
So,
Everybody wants all these services, but nobody wants to pay. And trust me, I'll assure you, nobody hates paying taxes more than I do. I don't care if it's state, local, federal, whatever. But, if our roads are, in adequate shape, we got the SPLOST money, it's going in and resurfacing our roads, so some roads are going to be improved and what have you. We've expanded our emergency medical services, you know, is
911
is
and
is a lot better than it was 15, 20 years ago. Our sheriff's office has taken leaps and bounds over the last 10, 12, 15 years, has grown by leaps and bounds in improvement. Donnie, I mean, the Jeep Fest is just a small example
Good
of
job.
what Donnie Craig's done since he's been in office. So, and look at the economic impact that brought into the businesses and what have you. And if we could bring more businesses like that, tourism, I think, you know, we touched on it a couple of weeks ago, Will, you know, bring tourism into the county, which will generate more tax revenue, then, you know, that all feeds into the tax base.
That's right.
And helping keep the local residents, our taxes low. So, you know, that's
Yeah. All right.
more food for thought.
Well, and now I just want to kind of touch on one other part of that same topic as far as the education tax exemption for the seniors. You know, as we stated, the numbers are not clear. You know, what's the property delinquency versus personal delinquency, and the information that's out there, and we touched on this off air, so before we started the show, was of every dollar of taxes collected in the county, that 63 to 65 cents of every tax dollar is directed to, controlled by, and set the millage rate by the Board of Education.
That's correct.
Not the commissioners, not the tax commissioner's office.
Or tax
It's
appraiser.
dictated to by the Board of Education. So if I'm going to ask for a clarification on my tax dollars, and 65 cents of them controlled by one group, that's the meeting I want to go to.
Absolutely.
And I want to see their books, because they are still a public entity that serves our children and our county. So they need to be able to, like you said, Jim, transparency, show me the books.
I think we all understand education, and the kids need to have education, and I don't think seniors mind contributing to that.
Right. But you want your money spent well.
But
Well,
that's it. I'd like to have some input into what's happening to that 65 cents out of every dollar. Where is it going?
Yeah.
Maybe you touched on something that is possibly something we haven't discussed yet. Is if we are paying this money, this portion, then shouldn't we be getting adequate services for it? So if that's the case, we all know, or maybe we don't know, but I know that I have serious concerns about our education in this country. So if you say to me, okay, well, 60 cents of the dollar goes to education, then what are we getting in return? And I think that now, granted, this is a whole new ballpark that I could swing down.
Oh, yeah.
But if we were getting adequate education, if we were achieving the way we need to be achieving in education, would we be asking the same questions?
I think we still would, because it's a fair question to ask from a standpoint of, you know, if I spend 50 cents of every tax dollar for education and I'm on a fixed income, I still want to know that 50 cents is spent well.
That's
And
right.
could you cut it to 49?
But we don't do that so much for our military.
Well, the military is federal.
Yeah.
That's right.
And those taxes are derived that way.
Well, no, I guess
I'm-
I'm going beyond taxes here, I guess, and
Well,
I'm
yeah,
I'm
we need-
thinking,
yeah.
okay, if our Department of Education, you know, needs, I'm going down a long road here.
Well, that's the problem right there in itself.
The Department of Education,
Amen.
or lack thereof.
Lack thereof.
Yeah.
Right.
Name me
Okay.
one student they've ever educated.
But I'll digress, because I know we are not nearly on the conversation that we started on. So, but maybe there's a lot of other questions that could be resolved, or a different path that we could take.
Well, let me
That
add.
could help us solve some of this tax issue and put at ease to, hey, I'm paying this much in education.
No, sure.
What about if you had vouchers and giving the people a little bit more control where they could send their kids to school, where they could get the most value and bang for the buck? That would be a good start.
Yeah.
Heck yeah, I mean, I'd spent personally a
Because what-
long time working on the Amendment 1 here in Georgia that did exactly that.
Because, you know, seniors, but, you know, my kids have always gone to a private school. So, you know, I kind of fall in the same lines as senior citizens. My kids don't go to school, so
Yeah,
but I'm still paying taxes,
and you're nowhere near retirement.
and I'm nowhere near retirement. I can't even spell retirement.
Yeah.
Be
So,
careful.
yeah.
Be careful. It sneaks up on you.
Yeah, I
in a
know.
hurry.
I was saying,
I guess maybe this is a huge deal, and it can't be resolved with one conversation.
no, you can't.
No, and what we want to do is start the conversation, and that's what we're doing, and looking at the.
You said the magic word. What am I getting for my dollar?
Yeah.
I mean, that's ingrained in all of us. If you pay money, you expect to get something back. And if you look at the educational level, and just look at it in Pickens County, I have no idea what that is. But I'm sure that there are some schools around here that are hurting for things that, because of the state input, one thing fits everything in the state.
Yeah, yeah.
No
Child left behind.
Right.
So, yeah.
I'm sure there are holes in the system.
Oh, shoot.
And that's all due to transparency.
Yeah.
No, but who's accountable?
Yeah.
Well, maybe it isn't. Maybe it isn't. What did I say? Maybe it isn't the accountability. Look at me, man.
Yeah.
Screwing this thing up already. Maybe it isn't the process of where we're going with education, but again, I've lost my train of thought now.
I hate it when that happens.
hate
it. No, well,
and you're nowhere near a senior either. That's scary.
Furthest one of
Not
us.
only that,
Yeah, the youngest one.
not only that, but
Turmeric takes care of that. Just take turmeric every day.
I tell you what, this is why you don't go down the rabbit hole. I should have stuck with this. We could
Should have stayed at 30,000 feet.
That's
I know.
right.
exactly. But I don't think you can stick at 30,000 feet.
No,
There's no way. There's no way you can talk about property taxes without examining all the other variables in the solution or in the equation.
Well, you got to take
And-
what if goes into the property taxes. What property tax funds? It funds education. It funds the county. So you got to look at it
But
all
even
together.
Even if I was Joe Smith at 70 years old and I felt like my property taxes are probably being used, would I still ask the same questions? Of I'm paying all this money. I want to keep it in my own pocket. I think I would still ask those same questions, even though even though I knew that it was going for
It's called
good.
accountability. It's holding. It's holding.
not-
No,
it's
it's
not even
holding. It's holding whoever accountable.
It's not even accountability. If the schools are doing really well and the ambulances are running, the fire trucks are running, the police department's going, all of that stuff, I think I would still say to myself, if I still want my money, I still want.
Oh, sure.
I still want to not be taxed as much. Because of that, it goes beyond. It goes above and beyond to say that we are already taxed way too much. Because if it wasn't that, then nobody would be asking these questions. We'd all be saying, "Well, everything's running smoothly. My money's being. Yes, I'm being paid, but it's all okay because I'm getting the services I need."
But you just kind of went, in my opinion, where the answer lies. Most people don't have an idea whether if you're on a retirement income or you're working full time like Will and I and yourself do. You don't have any idea what you pay in taxes. Most people are. I don't mean this to sound negative or a slam. It's not. But most people are ignorant of the fact that if you work a full-time job and you make a per capita income, say of average household income, you're paying over 50% of everything you make is in taxes between payroll, FICA, federal, state, property, fuel. Look at all your fuel taxes, gasoline, all your utility taxes, ad valorem tax, you name it. We're paying over 50% of our income and goes to taxes. And what really started all, in my opinion, was back World War II, FDR, withholding. That was supposed to go away. Well, when has a liberal ever given up on one of their cherished ideas? They don't.
In correction, that's not just liberals. It's just
The
about
establishment.
all-
The
yeah,
establishment.
It's just about everybody. And again, I think it's human nature to once you set the status quo, not to revert back to
Exactly.
it. And I also think to, no man, we
But if you
probably
wrote
spending
a,
way
if
too much-
everybody
we're
if
getting
everybody
close
wrote
to-
a check each month, whether to federal, state, local, for their taxes,
There'd be more people at the Board of Education meeting.
absolutely,
That's good.
I
exactly
just-
right.
And that's a good thing.
Yeah, that would be a good thing. Good thing. Well, I tell you what I'll do from the standpoint of the radio show. I'm going to reach out before the next radio show and invite a couple of our Board of Education members
That'd be excellent.
to be on the radio show and talk about how our taxes are spent, the statistics of where Pickens stands against the rest of the state, and get some of those things out so that the public can
That's a wonderful idea.
hear it and do it. And we've got some fairly new BOE members who have worked very hard to dig down and get to understand the ledgers and the numbers that are there. So
But you know, in the defense, I'm not to interrupt you, Will, but you know, and I don't know that much about the Board of Education, what all they do, but I do know, because I know people that have served in the years gone by, their hands are tied to a certain extent to get by the state and the federal fund to get. So I mean, there's only so much the Board of Education can do, but
right.
I guess we need to hold them accountable. Are they doing what they can do?
Right. Well, and the other side of that is, just like we talked about, we need to give them a platform so that citizens get a better understanding. And that's that open and honest conversation. It's where we need to go. All right. Move on to next thing I want to kind of touch base on was the Marble Fest, which is coming up the first full weekend in October here in the county. Something that in years past has kind of gone up and gone down in different years, and they've tried some different things. But you know, how can we grow the event for the entire county? Because it seems to isolate itself to the park downtown and to the quarry for the tours. You know, what can we do to pull the whole county into it as a county-wide effort and a benefit to the entire county? And the only thing I can compare it to is this time of year is what we just finished up with, which we talked about, Jeep Fest. Every hotel in this town, in the county, was booked out. Down in Canton, south of us, and LJ, same thing. Every restaurant in town, including here at Rocco's and the ones on Main Street, I think Dawn with the Carriage House said they actually ran out of food.
Yep.
She sold more hamburgers in 4 hours than she normally would in 2 months. And you know, you ran out of food, but that's still a good thing.
That's a good problem
I mean,
to have.
that's a good problem to have anywhere you're at. So how can we do that same thing for the Marble Fest? Because I don't think we're getting that same kind of result. You know, and like we talked about, if you want to generate more taxes, let people come in and leave on Sunday. Thank them as they leave and welcome them as they come in,
Amen to that.
and let them spend the tax. Jim?
What did the Jeep Fest do that was different than the marble?
Excitement.
Well, yeah,
As far as getting the interest.
Mud.
Jeep owners.
mud.
Jeep owners are Jeep owners.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not a marble owner. I don't know how to do that. So I just how do we translate that
Girls
into
that don't wear a whole lot of clothing, mud.
No,
Jeeps,
Tire.
trail rides, you know.
I don't know. There was
Mud
a
bogging.
yeah.
well, maybe we need to have it out there where the Jeep Fest was in and have a mud pit fight or something.
There you
I
go.
don't know.
I think one thing
Have a
that-
marble fight. That might hurt a little bit.
Yeah. One of the things I think that Donnie Craig and the Sheriff's Auxiliary, I mean, your hat has to go off to them.
Yep.
All volunteers, untold amount of hours put into it. And I think the thing is what we've talked about in before stuff is networking. What they did differently is they used social media.
Yes.
They got the word out statewide. I mean, I had customers of mine from Savannah, Tifton, LaGrange, Albany, and Nashville, Tennessee, Murfreesboro, Tennessee, who trailered their Jeeps to
Yep.
my county to drive in the dirt.
Sure.
I think they got dirt in pretty much all those towns I listed, but they came here.
I had some
mean,
from Savannah too, Will. that-
yeah, I mean, so with Bill and I, with our travels, when you talk about an event, you know, I talked to some of my customers a couple of years ago, to see them show up and send me a text message, hey, are you here?
Right.
That's how you do it. And I don't think
Well-
the Marble Festival,
Who does this for the Marble Festival?
Chamber of Commerce.
Chamber of
the
Commerce.
Chamber of Commerce.
They're lacking on the social media aspect of it, because here we are, 3 weeks away, and other than some road signs, of course, again, I travel some, so, but you don't see or hear of it being advertised anywhere. There's nothing being promoted throughout the state. Again, like we mentioned a couple of weeks ago, Will, in my travels, hey, where are you from? What's going on in Jasper, Pickens County? Oh, we got the Marble Fest. What's that? Never heard of that. And it's 35 years old, 45 years old now. But they know of Apple Festival. They know of Moonshine. They know of Gold Rush. They know of Sorghum Festival. So, why not Marble Festival? Again, it goes back to marketing and promoting it. And
Well, who's got time to do that? And there's a big group here that does have a lot of time on their hands.
Well, and the Chamber of Commerce has at least 4 full-time employees.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, as far as getting these things out, how hard would it be to take some signs and put them over in Dawsonville, or go the other way and hang some
Well,
signs?
let me add a couple things to that, to your point, and a couple things that were sticking in my head. The first is everyone's doing it. Go to Dawsonville, you've got the Moonshine Festival.
True.
Go to Gilmer, you've got the Apple Festival. Go to Pickens, and you've got the Marble Festival. October through November, from Helen all the way down to Cherokee County and everywhere in between has a county festival put on by the Chamber of Commerce. Now, outside of the names, what's different about each and every one of those festivals?
Well, if 15 years ago, Moonshine Festival, you could fit here in Rocco's Pub, the vendors and people that were going. Now it's
Big time.
50,000 goes there on the weekends, somewhere around there. And what's happened? What happened? Okay, granted, legal moonshine has become a more popular drink, but I don't know if a lot of people really equate moonshining and the birth of NASCAR essentially moonshining in Dawsonville, Georgia, which is essentially what happened.
What's happened is the community. Again, this is an event put on by the Chamber of Commerce in correlation with all the other public officials to get this bad boy together. You've got I remember still, and today you still have parades. You have the race. But the problem, I think, is that would you, as whoever family, would you rather go to Dahlonega to the Gold Rush Festival, or would you go to Pickens for the Marble Festival? And you're asking those questions beyond what the festival brings, but what can you do in that community? What is the ambiance? What's the drive and the pull of those communities? And I'm telling you, Main Street ain't that.
But again, 25 years ago, Gold Rush was nowhere near what it is now, and neither was Apple Festival.
I know 15 years ago it was.
Oh yeah, it was 15 years ago, but 25 years ago, what one of the differences, I think you see a concerted teamwork effort between their Chamber of Commerce, the local and the county governments, and I guess economic development, whatever. They team up and they have a concerted effort to go out and promote, their festival. Used to, when the Marble Festival started, if I'm not badly mistaken, was started by the Lions Club. And I think I'm not saying it was a mistake, but I think it was a mistake that the Lions Club and the Chamber didn't jointly go promote the Marble Festival, because you look at, was it 70, 60 some odd years now, the Lions Club has been doing the 4th of July, and it's the biggest 4th of July celebration in North Georgia.
Yeah, in this part of the state.
And word has gotten out. People come from all over out of state to this thing. And I remember as a kid growing up, when I would come up and visit my dad and grandparents and all that on the weekends or during the summer, I mean, it was a madhouse. The Main Street was like it was Friday night. I went to the concert just for a little bit on Main Street. It was great. I mean, it was wall-to-wall people having the time of their life, enjoying it, listening to some good music. They had plenty to eat. There was a lot of socializing going on, just a really good time.
Well, let me answer to that question you bring up, because I think it's interesting where we might be headed down. Not too long ago, I opened up the Pickens Progress, and they listed the top donors of the Marble Festival. Top donors of the Marble Festival was government itself. If I'm not mistaken, the city of Jasper had donated, I think, 5,000. Now I'm going to be in trouble if I don't get these numbers right, but I want to say
You'll be corrected, trust
You
me.
say large sums of money.
It won't take
Yeah.
long. Wait a couple minutes.
and so, if I take the example of what they're doing in Gilmer County with, say, the Apple Festival, and I take what they're doing in Dawsonville with the Moonshine Festival, and I compare those two festivals with what they have here in Marble Festival, one is, because we just got off the topic, our last topic, talking about things that need to be changed in this community, and one of those things being bringing business to this community.
Right.
If the Chamber of Commerce and a lot of these other organizations getting together, and these governments are getting together and promoting, are they promoting something that's not there? Because it isn't there. Think about the apples. That's a very seasonal thing. You can't get that all the time. A delicious North Georgia apple, you can't get that unless you go this specific time of year. Do what?
A lot of them are coming from out of state now. That's a lot.
Yeah.
And with Dawsonville, you have racing, you have the Moonshine Festival, you have the with racing, you have the Georgia Racing Hall of Fame, you have the Outlaws, you have other things there to keep people there. Once you tour the Nelson, listen to me, the city park down here where the Chamber of Commerce is located, where the Marble Festival is, that's it.
Right.
Well,
And so what is the draw? Marble is year round. So it's not like a seasonal.
But the
apples.
historical aspect of the history of the marble and how it all get created, and the fact that this was
What it's done
Yeah.
for us as a country.
and what the fact that Washington D.C. have the Washington D.C. has been built with Georgia marble. Almost every state in the union has a Georgia marble in it, and countless countries from overseas.
And as a former as a family member who has owned mineral rights before,
Absolutely.
I really appreciate
Absolutely.
that. Trust me. We owned a good portion of marble
Right.
in this county, and it's an awesome story to tell. But I don't think it is the draw, because again, the county is structured and put itself in such a manner that we've talked about this time and time again. People are bypassing this county and they're moving on to bigger and better things. They're going up to LJ. They're going up to Blue Ridge. That's where they want to go. There's a draw there, whether it be.
Well, having a draw there, whether you're promoting an event, this Marble Festival, Jeep Fest, the River Fest in Canton, whatever it is, that's what I'm going to say. That's what we're paying them for, because you have to pay to be a member of the chamber, which I am as an individual, not a business. That's what the money that's in that chamber dues and everything is for. If it needs more people to help with that marketing and be a little more 2015, then that's what we need to. That's what we need to do. So, enough I think on the Marble Festival, and I think the way to grow it is, like we say, promote our county, but you have to do it in a coherent, comprehensive way that has an impact on it.
I mean, honestly, I don't want to have 250,000 people show up for Marble Festival like Gold Rush over that weekend or whatever, but there's got to be a happy medium there.
Maybe I want 250,000 people.
You want 250,000 people in Pickens County?
They will leave after the weekend, but if I could just take a half of a percent of those people to come back to this county and put their 2 cents back in this county, I wouldn't mind doing that.
Right.
All right, now I've got Now I've got a topic that's I hope
Here we
will
go.
spur the show for next week, because I think it will. On the national scene, I want to kind of jump from the state to a national issue. Um, the Kentucky clerk Kim Davis uh, denies the same-sex marriage license. You know, agree or disagree. Uh, what if the situation was that a sheriff down in South Texas decided they didn't want to follow the law and what's their job, and they decided to just go ahead and let illegal immigrants come into their county and filter on out to the rest of the state? Should your personal beliefs come over whatever they are, whether it's your religious beliefs, whatever, come in place of your job description? You know, I'll throw out my opinions right up front, and I want to get you guys. I think she did a disservice not only to her county, but to her God, because she, whatever her religious beliefs are, and of course everybody wants to throw all her personal history and all that into it. That doesn't have anything to do with it. But if you're letting, I don't think you should let your beliefs personally. If you sign up to take the job and the job dictates that you do A, B, and C, do A, B, and C the best you can. If you can't do it, resign, move on. Bill?
You know, I agree to a certain extent what you're saying there. I think it goes a little bit beyond that with the Supreme Court ruling that was made this summer. Was it a legal law? And again, I'm going maybe up to a 50,000 foot elevation here, or view, or maybe sinking 50,000 feet here with this comment. But you know, is that a legal law? You say, well, the Supreme Court said this. Yeah, but I think it goes deeper than that. In the beginning, so to speak, did government define marriage, or did God or the Bible or the church define marriage? Because a strong argument to be made for marriage was in Genesis with creation of Adam and Eve.
Right.
So if you believe that, then 9 people wearing robes,
Not going to change that.
you're not going to change it.
Right.
So, you know, that's called activism, political activism. So I agree with what you're saying, that, you know, had she been elected or just coming into office now knowing the law, I'd say undoubtedly you're absolutely right. You know, why'd you even sign up for that job or vote or run for that office?
Right.
But I think it's, you know, it's now what you do in your privacy of your own bedroom behind, you know, I really don't care. It doesn't affect me in the least. But I think that it
Yeah.
it's a touchy situation.
Yeah.
I think we all struggle with the issue of God and country, because my relationship with God dictates how I do things daily.
Exactly.
And that's between me and God, nobody else. My job as a human in this country is to live underneath the laws that are created by man to organize and make us livable in this country. Trouble is, it gets convoluted sometimes. And then what I do when that happens is I try to fall back on what is good for us based on my feelings between God and myself. And I try to use that. And you're right, there are some things that I don't know how they get passed, but they do. And then we have to live with it. And all we can do is, like the Pope said, that's not my problem. I'll let God sort it out. And that's what I try to do too. I'll do the best I can. I will accommodate, and I will say, you know, this is what I think. If you don't like it, that's okay too. But in your case, where you say she hired on to do a job and she's doing her job, and now she's brought religion into it, and I think that is wrong. She can bring herself into it, but she's got to do it in such a way that she is trying to serve her God in the job. And I don't know in this case she can do that.
Right.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, you know, when I was out of town last week in Savannah, I was listening to a local radio station that was interviewing I forgot the gentleman's name and capacity, but he was involved heavily in politics in Kentucky. He said this is not a done deal because, and I'd forgotten that Kentucky was a commonwealth.
Commonwealth, yeah.
One of the 4 or 5 states that
Yeah.
are quote unquote commonwealths. But because it's a commonwealth, it's going back to the people. The vote is going back to the people, and this is not a dead issue.
Oh,
so it's not going away.
Yeah, and the fact that she brought it to the forefront, I think, is fantastic. In that part of her religious beliefs, made her stand her ground and bring it to the forefront. It went to the Supreme Court. You know, they ruled in a way she didn't agree with. You know, and at that point, like Jim said, you're supposed to, when you take office, you're supposed to withhold or hold up the laws of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. If she couldn't do that, she should have stepped aside and let legislative, judicial, everything go, like I say, go through the process, bring it back around. So, I think when you, I don't know, I just don't think that she should have held up. And now there's a question that her name's on it, she didn't sign them and all that stuff.
What?
So it's going to burn a lot of court time.
To throw another question mark here into it is, now had she been Muslim, what have you, and would anything have ever been said to her if she didn't do this? Is she being picked on because she's quote unquote Christian? If she were atheist or Muslim or worship rocks or trees or whatever, I mean, would this even be an issue right now?
Right. Yeah.
So, unfortunately, I think it's become politicized, and which is, but it is what it is.
Let me stop you right there. It is politicized. It was meant to be politicized.
Absolutely.
And there are people that are getting maybe a lot of votes off of this. As much as I like Mike Huckabee, I think that was a dog and pony show.
No, sure it was a dog and pony. It was a photo op.
Yeah.
But it was interesting. I had to go back, and I think I got it. Justice Scalia said this would happen.
Yes, he
We'd
did.
have these type of
He
issues.
did.
It's still a states' rights issue.
It is.
And
Absolutely.
And as much as I believe this particular situation at this particular time was the wrong battle at the wrong moment, I think you're right, Will, in the fact that there is a process that we need to follow. We need to move the ball down inch by inch, yard by yard. And that doesn't mean having dog and pony shows.
That's right.
Because what it actually does, I think, is it draws people, because as a Christian who's trying to go out and live the best life I can possibly be and spread the message of Christ, it makes it that more difficult because this person is now the poster child of Christians all over the world. And I think it gives a bad rap because I want to believe that I love everybody, and I want to believe that I do good, and I want to believe that I can spread God's message in the right direction when and where. But this is just bad all the way around. And if you were a marketer, you're looking at this, you go, no, let's not do that.
Yeah.
Despite being a Christian or not.
Yeah. Well, what they say, any kind of PR is good PR? Not necessarily.
Not here.
No.
We could all be wrong. We could all be sitting back and, weeks from now going, man, were we wrong? And justices get back together and all kinds of things happen.
That'd be a good thing.
But in the short term, I guess it's better to be Amish right now. Amish don't have marriages, so,
Everything gets made a political or a religious issue.
That's right.
Sometimes you cannot argue the center point because
everything
there
can
is
be
none.
made a political issue, but it shouldn't be.
I agree.
Complete agreement. Eric Erickson talks about this a lot. Not everything is political. Taking off another talk show.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Well, that kind of lets us segue to the last thing I want to talk about tonight is we got a presidential debate coming up this week. You know, who do you think on stage will deliver the message the best? You know,
The loudest or the best?
best.
That's what I was gonna say,
I think the
Stephen.
loudest we got that covered.
Now we're going to identify ourselves, aren't we? Okay.
Well, no, I mean, you know, just from a standpoint, I mean, we're still waiting. I don't think we've got to wait till October for the Democrats to get on stage and debate how they would, you know, what their format is and all that. But you know, we're gonna have 11 on stage this week. You know that Carly Fiorina's made it on stage. I think that's a good thing.
Yep.
But you know, just I'll start with you, Jim.
I would like somebody to answer the question first of all.
That would be good.
Every time there's a question answered, they go this way. They don't answer the question. It's like it's taboo.
Yeah.
You know, if somebody gets asked, what are you going to do about unemployment in this country? That's a very hard question to answer to begin with. But at least say something that addresses part of it if you can. Don't beat around the bush and blame it on somebody else.
Yeah.
And that's the person that I'm looking for.
Right.
Somebody who is direct and will not shy away from being a little controversial. And I don't care if he has hair or not, but it's or bad hair, whatever. Somebody who will say something to address that question. And I can't stand it when they don't do that.
Yeah.
I agree.
All right.
Yeah, I think that we, like I said, I think we all, if we were betting men, our money would go. We know who the loudest would be.
That's
I think that to answer your question, Jim, probably the three candidates that will probably do that, and I'm saying this from the last debate, will be Dr. Ben,
Yeah.
Ted Cruz,
Okay.
because he had some pretty direct questions. Of course, he
He
was
does.
silent for a lot.
I know.
just like Ben Carson was. And also, I think Carly Fiorina may turn some heads.
I think she may. I agree with that.
Because she, you know, some interviews, clips I've seen of her, she's about as direct as the day is long.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Which is refreshing.
it is refreshing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think they answer questions based on the baggage they're carrying with them
Oh, yeah.
because they're afraid to go out of that impression.
Right.
People won't believe they're doing that for some strange reason.
Yeah.
You know,
Will, why didn't you just ask the actual question? Will Donald Trump actually be a contender in this race? Let's just.
Well, no, you know,
He's a big contender.
yeah.
Or in this debate, I mean.
And
sorry,
what,
not
honestly,
race.
that truly was not my question. I honestly think,
Oh, sure.
no, really, this is just my opinion, but I think at the end of the debate, the person who presents their message the best, if you allocate X amount of time, I think Dr. Carson will have the most coherent, comprehensive, direct, and honest. If he's given a question, he actually has an opinion / solution for it.
Yep.
I mean, when you have somebody with that kind of intellect, and I don't nothing not to downgrade your degree, but somebody who's a poly somebody who's a poli
That's
sci
a
major.
left-handed college.
I know.
Yeah, and I mean, and I know with your degree and another full 20 years of experience, you're going to be phenomenal.
And answering nothing.
But Ben Carson has
He's digging his whole teeth.
yeah, really, has 20 years of phenomenal practical experience. And, you know, and something that came out that was, I think, was not shown or seen was that he and his wife have had a foundation for over 20 years. He's been on the board of directors of 3 major corporations. I mean, so from drug companies to retail type things. So I think that hopefully his chance to shine will be in this debate.
I hope
And,
so, too.
and the same thing for Carly Fiorina.
You know what I'm disappointed at?
What?
Is that Rick Perry is not there.
Rick, I really had a lot of high hopes this time for Rick Perry. I think we talked about it a long time ago. He was really my choice because of his gubernatorial, what he's done as a governor in Texas after he took over after Ann Richardson.
Yep.
He dug out of a deep hole. He's dealt with immigration probably more so than any governor in the state of in the United States. And
Or any
jobs.
CEO that would like.
Well, jobs and education in Texas has moved up to stellar levels, but that just proves that governance does not equate to running for office.
So are we gonna see somebody who is on the back burners right now? Are we gonna see somebody step up and take over, or is this gonna be somewhat what we saw a few years ago, where it was kind of a roller coaster? Somebody takes over, and then they fall off. Somebody else takes over, and they drop off.
Yeah,
money,
I think,
Are we gonna
money
see
is
that?
an issue.
I think there'll be a major culling out after that because just like
Well,
you said,
it's like the Democrats. I don't know why they're waiting so long for a debate, but it's kind of like you see what's in the papers, and it's a given. It's already a given to somebody. Where in fact, this gentleman has shown up who is, I think, 70 years old. I think
Yeah.
he is. He is drawing the biggest congregation you can get as
Yeah.
far as talking to.
oh yeah,
But that's good.
Yeah.
He's answering questions.
he's
And I can't wait for their debate either to see.
he's not dodging questions. He's answering
I
questions.
agree.
So, all
Well,
right.
this is, without a doubt, I think this is going to be a $1 billion campaign.
Oh, easy.
No.
Whoever it is,
Yeah. Well,
because whoever's going to come out of the GOP side, they're going to have to face a humongous wall of money.
yeah.
But the Democrats are too.
The thing is, the average American, whether they're Republican, Democrat, Independent, whatever, people that make this country work, they're tired of the same old, broken promises. Make all these grandiose promises, just like the establishment Republicans. They've had 2 midterm landslide elections, and they do absolutely nothing. And people are tired of it. That's the reason you get the top 4 candidates on the Republican ticket, nomination so far are non-establishment, non-political people that are running, with the exception of Ted Cruz. He's, Trump, Carson, Cruz.
But let's not forget, we said the same thing about Obama too. So
What about Obama?
that he wasn't a leader. He had no political experience. He hadn't been in office very long. Yeah,
But the
those are all
media
same
was
things.
just enthralled with him, just like he is now. There's not a single thing that he has done that the media has challenged him on, or he's done or said. They've let him get away with highway robbery, literally and figuratively. I mean,
And they're in that regard, they're in love with Trump the same way.
Yeah.
They're not drilling down and
I
No,
will
you
say
know.
though that Trump brings a tremendous ball of energy that people will tune into.
Oh yeah.
And I don't mind that necessarily.
Well,
Oh, I don't know
a buddy of mine sent me an email the other day. It was a YouTube link from Trump from, I think, it was 1988. He was on Oprah being interviewed.
That's all that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what he said then is pretty much what he's saying right now.
Yeah, he's
And-
just a Democrat back then.
It doesn't matter. I can't believe I'm saying this, but if the Democrat was saying what he was saying, he'd have my attention and ears versus a Jeb Bush or whatever. I mean, but the odds of that happening is about like we having 8 feet of snow in July in North Georgia. It's just not going to happen.
So real quickly, who in Pickens County out of the race now, if they could come here and do well, who would do the best in Pickens?
I honestly think that if they showed up, that Dr. Carson or Trump would draw the biggest crowd, but Carson would get the Generation Y, the millennials, the seniors. I think everybody would show up for him. I think Trump, you'd have a certain amount of followers who are, like I say, fed up with the establishment, and then the gawkers. But people who wanted to know something
I'd be a gawker.
would show up for Dr. Carson.
I agree. Trump would draw the biggest crowd because it would be entertainment.
To be entertainment. Yeah.
I do like him for that. I think he brings a sense of civil discourse to the whole entire process that needs to be talked about. Be as crazy as it may be, this guy and his zingers. I tell you what, they're going to be writing. They're going to be writing the political science books in the best degrees you could ever get in college.
And
right?
people are tired of all the political correctness. I mean, let's face it, a spade's a spade, a club's a club, but you can't call it that anymore because everything is racist, sexist, bigoted, homophobic, whatever. You can't just make a comment or wear a Confederate battlefield T-shirt without you being lambasted and criticized or what have you. So.
And with that, we're going to end the show this week. Thank y'all again for coming out, and we'll see y'all next week.